And again, and welcome back. Now, with the all-out offensive against the Tamil Tigers, the Sri Lankan President, Mahinda Rajapaksa, is now declaring it to be part of the global war on terrorism. He's recently called on the UN to take a clear action to combat what he described as the fast-spreading menace of terrorism. And in an exclusive interview with Al Jazeera's Tony Birtley, President Rajapaksa reiterated his determination to crush the rebels, but admitted the solution to the war in his country is ultimately political.
Now it's the end of their battle. Either they have to surrender or give up their fighting.
So you're saying to them they should surrender, lay down their weapons?
Now this is the time that they should do that.
What terms are you offering? You're saying calling them to surrender, but what is it you're offering them?
What can we offer for a terrorist who wants a separate state? And we have, for last so many years, we tried to persuade them for a political solution. All government.
What about the this whole military situation? Because everybody always said only a political solution would actually work in Sri Lanka, not the military. It seems now that the balance has tipped the other way.
I agree with that. The final solution will be a political solution. There is no military solution for this. But you have to defeat the terrorism in this country. If you defeat the terrorism, if there is no terrorism, then for the reasonable people, we might be able to give the political solution.
And Prabhakaran, you were mentioning before, he's got a lot of blood on his hands. Has this become a very personal thing between you and him? The peace process started, it collapsed. How much do you hold him responsible for what has happened in this country, the collapse of the peace process, and has it become a personal thing with you?
No, it's nothing personal for me. I don't have any personal grudges against people. Not even with Prabhakaran. Why should I?
But the new Sri Lanka has no place for the Tamil Tiger leader. Is that what you're saying? The new Sri Lanka, if we're talking about when this war is finished, the new Sri Lanka has no place for...
No place for terrorist. No place for terrorist.
Well, we're still joined by our guests in Colombo, Palitha Kohona, in London, Senapu Maharasingham. And joining us from Delhi in this part of the programme is retired General Ashok Mehta, an expert on the Sri Lankan conflict and a former leader of an Indian peacekeeping force in Sri Lanka. And General Mehta, if I could start with you, the President there was talking about the war on terrorism. And as I say, in the past, he's linked the conflict in Sri Lanka directly to the global war on terror. But am I wrong in saying that this is an entirely different conflict?
No, I don't think it's an entirely different conflict. What the Sri Lankan government, and especially after President Rajapaksa came into power, what his government has been able to do very creatively is that they have been able to transfer the onus of the ethnic conflict into terrorism. And they've also been able to make a distinction between the Tamils, the grievances of the Tamils and the LTTE. And you have a situation where, on the one hand, the President of Sri Lanka says that the ultimate solution is political, but the paths that they follow, or the route that they follow, is military. And this is nothing new for Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan government has to realize that the LTTE cannot be defeated militarily. LTTE represents the origin of Tamil grievances, and those grievances, the political issues, have not been addressed, not by this government, not by previous governments. And over the years, the question of the political question gets sidelined in the guise of defeating the LTTE terrorists.
General Mehta, let me bring in Dr. Kohona there at that point. You're suggesting that the route, he's suggesting the route you're following is purely military. Let's look to the future. What is the end game here? We know historically, no doubt about it, Tamils have been suppressed. They do definitely have a case to argue to a degree. What can you offer the Tamils of Sri Lanka?
I listened to General Mehta very carefully, but I must emphasize, as the President said earlier, that the end game is political. We can only solve this conflict through a political process, through an economic
Will I repeat, what are you going to offer the Tamils of Sri Lanka?
It's not only a question. It's not a question of one party offering something to the other. We have to get together and work out a solution. That is why we have the All-Party Representative Committee sitting even as we speak. They have been tasked with the goal, with the responsibility of working out a solution which will address the grievances of our minorities, especially the Tamil minority, so that all the people of Sri Lanka can live together, live in dignity. And this we will achieve. There's no doubt about that. But first and foremost, you have to defang the terrorist tigers, because they have been seeking to achieve their political goals through terrorism, and unmitigated terrorism at that. And we cannot have, as the President said, a terrorist group purporting to represent a significant portion of our population. We do not acknowledge that. There are many moderate Tamils who do not recognize the leadership of the LTT.
All right, well, let's put that to Mr. Mahara, the chairman of the Tamil Action Committee. Mr. Mahara, live together, live in dignity. It seems like a pretty good ideal, doesn't it?
Now, I must first of all thank the observations of the Indian representative, because he has opened up so many avenues by which even the Tamils can think deeper. Now, coming to this Mr. Kuhuna, I think he is beating about the bush. He is being observed or controlled by the President, because he has become a very dangerous president, because no other singular leader had become so controlling the other forces of sanity. Now, I will warn the President, Mr. Rajapaksa, that he is not going to beat the Tamil Tigers by such military actions.
Okay, well, let's put that to Dr. Kahuna. Dr. Kahuna, what is the point of all this military action? Because you're never going to win the fight.
I think in a democracy you cannot have a terrorist group controlling part of the territory of this country. And the Tamil Tigers have been doing that for the last 25 years. And let me speak to you about what we did in the Eastern Province. Since throwing out the Tamil Tigers from the Eastern Province, we've had elections, local government elections and provincial council elections. Today, the Eastern Province is governed by an elected representative of the Tamil people. He was a former child soldier, mind you. And there we have democracy in action.
But on the other hand, you could say, you could look back to the ceasefire. You could look back to the ceasefire and say that nothing was done then, and still you had infant mortality, hunger and disease. You had an opportunity then, but nothing happened. So why should it happen again this time?
Let me touch upon that very briefly, because it is important. During the ceasefire, the LTT eliminated almost every single moderate Tamil leader. The LTT targeted government intelligence operatives, and the LTT also strengthened itself, smuggled in huge quantities of weapons, strengthened its armaments, retrained so that it could launch those devastating attacks, which it did in June, July, August 2006.
Dr. Kahuna, we're fast running out of time on this program. I do apologise for interrupting. I just wanted to throw the last question to Delhi and General Mehta. Do you believe that the Tamil dream of a separate homeland is now fading, is diminishing?
No, that is absolutely the case. But the idea that the LTT represent, the idea of the Tamil grievances and those that the Sri Lankan government says it is addressing through the All-Party Representative Committee, well, it's been in existence for 2 years. It has nothing to show. It appears to me that if the policy of this government is to first defeat the terrorists and then offer a political solution, then this war will go on. Because as I said in the beginning, the LTT will not be defeated militarily. And therefore, to say that ultimately the solution is political. I've heard this for the last 30 years. So the Sri Lankan government has to be more serious about the political package. To say that you've held an election in the East is democratic, well, you know, I have my own views on the election that was held with a group that carried its weapons. If they are trying to replicate that in the North, then that could take a couple of years. So what happens to the political solution? So therefore, the problem is that if this government thinks that it's going to build up its political mileage on military success and keep postponing the grievances, addressing the grievances of the Tamils till the LTT is defeated, then I'm afraid that what the Tamil Nadu government is saying right now and what the government of India has been saying very lately is that that the political process has to be revived. And that political process, revival of the political process, does not seem to be on the Sri Lankan government's radar.
General Mehta, we'll have to leave it there. We appreciate your time and we appreciate your thoughts, and so too those of Palitha Kahona, Sinapu Maharasingham. Gentlemen, thanks very much indeed for your time, and thank you so much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. Always good to have your comments and suggestions. Of course, please email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Bye for now.